Unions of Events Part 1. If the probability of rain is 0.6, the probability of fog is 0.25, and the probability of rain and fog is 0.1, what is the probability of rain or fog? In order to solve this problem, we're going to use the draw pictures principle. So we'll just draw pictures and then decide what formula to use based on the picture. My picture is going to be a Venn diagram. The first circle represents the probability of rain. The second circle represents the probability of fog. The intersection of the two circles represents the probability of rain and fog. But we're asked to find the probability of rain or fog. So that means I can either have rain or I can have fog. Now notice with the blue shading, I didn't shade the intersection of the two because the intersection represents both of them together, and I want either the rain or the fog. So in order to find what's in my blue shading, I'm going to take the probability of the rain, add it to the probability of the fog, and then subtract the probability of the intersection, which is the probability of both things happening at the same time. So this is the formula that I'm going to use. And this formula is also called the union formula. The union formula is represented as the probability of two events, E union F, and that equals the probability of E plus the probability of F minus the probability of E intersection F. So this is just the mathematical definition of the formula. And this uppercase U is a union symbol, and that represents the probability of event E or event F. And then the lowercase u is the intersection symbol, and that represents the probability of E and F, which is the overlap represented in my Venn diagram. Okay, so I'm going to use the formula on the screen. First, I'll add the probability of rain and fog together, and then I'll subtract the probability of both happening. So the probability of rain is 0.6, the probability of fog is 0.25, and the probability of both of them happening is 0.1. So 0.6 plus 0.25 gives me 0.85. Lastly, we'll just subtract 0.1. So 0.85 minus 0.1 equals 0.75. And this is the answer to the problem. And this represents the probability of rain or fog, which is the union of the two events. Assume that A and B are events. If the probability of A union B equals 0.6, the probability of A equals 0.3, and the probability of B equals 0.55, find the probability of A intersection B. In order to solve this, I'm going to use the union formula. And this formula is written on the screen. This formula just says that the union, or the probability of the union, equals the probability of one event plus the probability of the second event minus the probability of the intersection. So we'll just plug in the values that are given to us and then solve for the unknown. So we know that the union is 0.6. We're told that the probability of the first event is 0.3. The probability of the next event is 0.55. And then we want to find the probability of the intersection. And I'm going to use A and B since that's what the problem used. Okay, so now we just have a formula, and we're just going to solve the formula by isolating the probability of the intersection. First, you'll add 0.3 to 0.55. When you do that, we get 0.85. Next, we're going to subtract 0.85 from both sides of the equal sign. And we have a negative probability of the intersection. And that equals 0.6 minus 0.85, and that's a negative 0.25. Now we want a positive probability, so we're going to divide both sides by negative 1. That becomes the probability of the intersection of A and B equals negative 0.25 divided by negative 1, which is a positive 0.25. So my answer is 0.25.